For almost as long as there have been Power Rangers, there have been Power Ranger comics. I'm Paul, and this is Indie Pop Productions, pop culture from an independent point of view. Today, we're going to dig into the Power Rangers, specifically Power Rangers comic books, my history with the fandom, and we're going to unbox the Kickstarter exclusive Boom Studios Mighty Morphin Power Rangers The Return. In about 1993, the Power Rangers first came out. Saban Entertainment famously took shots from the classic Japanese TV series Super Sentai and spliced them with American actors to make a new series, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which, as everyone knows, was a huge hit. I kind of came at the series from a different angle than most of the fans at that time period. Most of the fans being young, and myself at that time already being in college, being a late teenager. I liked the show because I was a martial artist, and at that time period, there really wasn't a lot of good martial arts on television. I remember turning it on just out of curiosity, not at the very beginning, but about the time period that the Green Ranger, Jason David Frank, was introduced to the TV series. And in one of the many shots that they had, which was not in costume, but with him out of the costume in street clothes, with the various other characters doing that as well, which are always my favorite parts of the show, I remember watching him in action going, oh, he actually knows what he's doing. He's an actual martial artist. It was really fun to watch, and that hooked me. I enjoyed watching the show. I was a fan up through the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, Ivan Ooze, Secret of the Ooze, whatever it's called, which is a horrible movie, but it was honestly a lot of fun. I really liked it. It was a lot more the characters, the American actors, not so much spliced from the Japanese Super Sentai footage, so they had a little more freedom. You got to see how good they were either as gymnasts or martial artists. There was kind of a mix between the different cast members. Then I kind of lost it after that, after the movie, when they went back into the next season and they just kind of retold the Ninjetti arc worse. Completely different, back to splicing the footage. I was really disappointed in that. I was, in my history, when you took a TV series in and right in the middle, in the between seasons in the summer, you put out a movie, like the Transformers did famously years before for the very controversial death of Optimus Prime and the Transformers movie. Well, then when the new season started, you just took that movie, you chopped it up into a few episodes worth, and then you put those on television. You went from there, and this instead just to me retold the exact same story they just told, but not as good. I did go back a while later when they put out the Turbo Power Rangers movie, and at that point, almost all of the original actors, with the exception of I believe Jason David Frank, had moved on, and it just wasn't as fun. They constantly had that rotating cast of actors based on the fact that Saban Entertainment did not like paying actors, so nobody stuck around too long when they realized they weren't getting paid much to make a hugely successful series. I was really interested in it because of the martial arts, and I really wanted to be on it. So I was very crushed when I found out that at 6'2", I was not Power Ranger size. Most of them were much more compact and portable size, and I would have looked really odd next to the rest of them. I was also interested in writing. At that time period, I knew nothing about screenwriting, nothing about the structure of screenwriting, and I remember just basically writing a pitch and sending it in, no idea what would happen. And one of the producers on the show, I really wish I still had the letter that he sent back, and knew which producer this was. But one of the producers on the show was nice enough to, this young guy clearly doesn't know what he's doing, but I kind of wrote back saying, hey, just so you know, based on the way our show works, that's not how this works. But if you are interested in screenwriting, if you are going to take that seriously, here's a few books that I recommend. And in the mid 90s, before you could find all this information on the internet, and it was a little harder to figure out what screenwriting structure was, that meant a lot to me. That was really nice. And so I've always remembered that fondly, that a producer on that show was nice enough to respond to a fan that was interested in going down that path. While all that was going on, you also had the Power Rangers comics. The first couple years worth were from Hamilton Comics. Those were probably the closest experience you're going to get to reading what it was like to watch an actual episode of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. After a couple years of that, you got more popular, moved on to Marvel. Marvel took it over for a while. Those, if you look at them, it's crazy. It doesn't even look like a Power Rangers comic. It just looks like a mid-90s Marvel comic book where characters are calling themselves the Power Rangers. Really weird. Then Image briefly took over. When I say briefly, I mean briefly. They actually made 4 issues of, I believe it was Power Rangers Zeo. Only 1 was released. I would love to read those other 3 issues. Again, it felt more like an Image comic than it did an actual adaptation of the Power Rangers. Then sometime later, there were a few like little things here and there, but then Paper Cuts took over, not with Mighty Morphin, but with whatever the current Power Rangers were. Did I think a couple different adaptations of different time periods of the show, and those were actually pretty decent. I actually enjoyed those. But then in I believe it was 2015, Boom Studios took over. At this point, you know, your original Power Ranger fans, even if they were young, as opposed to me, who was a teenager at the time, but were young kids, which was their target market, they'd grown up. So this was now a legacy series. This was a nostalgia series. And Boom Studios did something that I thought was really special. Boom Studios took the Power Rangers, and if you remembered the Power Rangers being this super exciting, thrilling, cool characters, awesome martial arts, great monsters, super villains, and you remember this really special show. Well, Boom Studios gave you the comic books that were what you remembered, not what it actually was. And that's not a shot against what it was. What it was something special. But as you get older, you kind of remember the show being more mature than you were at that time period. And we'd seen at that time, by that point, we'd seen that, G.I. Joe and the Transformers and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all these legacy nostalgia properties had done more or less the same thing. They'd gone back, they'd rebooted with other comic book companies and movies and TV shows and whatever it is, and done so in a way that the original fans would enjoy and feel like, this is what I remember, but not really what it was. They made comics that really were more, this is as if the TV show was as cool as you remember. And then they did a line that I really was a big fan of called Go-Go Power Rangers, which was, going all the way back to the beginning of the Power Rangers, and then eventually introducing the Green Ranger, who became the White Ranger, but telling it almost as if, the best way I could say it, is if it was a CW series instead of a Fox Kids series. So the teenagers were acting more like teenagers, they had regular teenage problems, but you had all this with the backdrop of the story from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and fighting Rita Repulsa and Lord Zed and all their monsters, and all the silliness, but told in a cool, modern way. I really liked those, but one of the cooler things they did is they established, as all comic book companies have to do, they established a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, or just not just Mighty Morphin, but a Power Rangers multiverse based on the Morphin Grid, in which not only are there multiple versions of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which is what they focus on the most because that's where the nostalgia money comes from, but also were all of the other adaptations of the Power Rangers over the years, Zeos and Space and Turbo and everything else could exist in this multiverse, and when necessary, such as the very popular Shattered Grid storyline came out, they can cross over, they can meet and have cool adventures together, which was something that you never really did in the series. Every once in a while they would have an episode where, like every incarnation of the Red Ranger would show up, and then Austin St. James, who was the original Red Ranger on the American series, would pop out in front of them. You'd like, oh yay, it's them, this is so awesome. But here you'd actually build those characters and you'd cross over in a meaningful way, not just as cameos, which was a lot of fun. But most recently, the original Pink Ranger, Amy Jo Johnson, came out with a comic book that she co-wrote for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series for Boom Studios, called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers: The Return. And the idea was the original 6 never really broke up. They fought Rita, they fought Zed, and then after the series had ended, they carried on. They never were replaced by other Rangers. And then something happened that broke the team up. And now we're coming back to them all these years later. Read it earlier in the year, as the comics were coming out, I read the digital editions. But finally, after all this time, Boom Studios has finally sent me the special edition that I signed up for on Kickstarter. And so we're going to go ahead and open that. The first box they sent, just based on the shape, I'm assuming this isn't the graphic novel itself. It's also very light. This is going to be some of the swag. You get a lot of extras when a big Kickstarter is very successful. They do like bonuses, like, hey, if we hit a certain amount of backers, we'll give you this for free. If we hit a certain dollar amount, we'll give you this for free. And this was a pretty successful campaign. So there's quite a bit of swag I believe I'm going to get. And I think that's what this box is. So we're going to open this one up first. There's probably some swag in the other box too, but I think that one's the one that has the actual, the Return graphic novel. All right. Oh, this is neat. This only has one piece of swag, but it's actually one of the cooler parts of the swag. One of the options for the series that you could get was, instead of the original, the regular versions of the covers, they did interlocking covers. I didn't get that. I chose to get the special edition of the graphic novel, but this is a print that they gave as one of the add-ons. That is all of those covers put together in one print, one little mini poster. It's really nice, very high quality, good art. I like this, so I'm gonna be happy to have that as part of my nerdy collection. Now, the main box, I don't remember, it's been a while. I don't remember how much is in here, if there's any other swag other than that. I think there's at least a couple little pieces, but this is also where we're gonna get the first look at that special edition graphic novel. Yeah, that's, okay, it's all in one piece. Let me kind of pull these out for you. We've got Pink Ranger little pin. That is special edition. I think you had to have backed within the first 24 hours of the campaign to get that, so that's fairly rare. Not too rare, because a whole lot of people backed this campaign. This campaign apparently hit the nostalgia button for a lot of people. But pin for that, very cool. Pack of very retro 90s looking Power Ranger stickers. Cool, I think this is prints. Let me open this up so we can take a look inside, but I believe there's more than one print in here. Very nice art. Looks like that would be, that one looks like, I think that's the White Ranger holding the Pink Ranger's helmet. Not sure how that actually fits into the storyline. Might be a print from something else, but very nice looking. Let me see if I can get into this. See what else is in here. Yeah, it's a handful of prints. That one, obviously. And Pink Ranger being a big focus here, as Amy Jo Johnson, the Pink Ranger, was the writer of the series. Another Pink Ranger print. Pink Ranger holding her own helmet. Very similar take. Oh, this is cool. This one is different version of the Pink Ranger. I'm not sure which version of the Power Rangers that comes from. And then last, I believe this is the version of the Pink Ranger that had been controlled in the Shattered Grid storyline, where she was bad and being controlled by Lord Draken. I don't want to tell you too much about that storyline, but if you are interested in the Boom Studios Power Rangers comic books, that's a great place to start. I know I talked mostly about the Go-Go Power Rangers because I'm a big fan of that one as what was an ongoing series for a few years, but the Shattered Grid Lord Draken storyline, very cool. One of the most interesting things that have been done, especially with a Power Rangers multiverse within Power Rangers comics. Do check that out. But then, what we are really here for, very nice slipcase edition. Very, very pretty. I like this. This is really nice, very premium. Go ahead and cut that plastic open so we can take a look inside. Yeah, I wasn't sure what the size of this is going to be. This isn't really much different than regular graphic novel size, but this is a very nice slipcased edition. You're not going to see this, I don't think in stores. I think you would, they said they printed a handful of extras of this edition for people that wanted to go through Boom Direct, but the only surefire way to get it was to get it through backing the campaign. Really nice quality, really great art. Just to kind of give you an idea of what the art within most Power Ranger comic books is. It is much higher quality. Like I said, this is, This is the Power Rangers you think you remember, not the Power Rangers you actually watched. This is a great storyline. I do hope they pick up from this, because it does have a bit of an open ending of where they're going to go from there. I would like to see, yet another alternate universe for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers within the Boom Studios series. But do check it out. I hope it goes on from there. If there's another Kickstarter, I'm very pleased with this one. I'm probably willing to back again. If you enjoy this, this is my first time doing anything like this. I've been wanting to kind of do a little nerd talk kind of thing like this. I'm going to go back and forth between things. Probably get a little bit of, the various things I love. I mean, which is everything from movies to TV shows, Broadway musicals. But I think my bread and butter is really going to be video games and comic books. You'll see me hop and forth between those two quite a bit. Those are the things I really love as far as pop culture, and just kind of give you my opinions on it. Not really critiques. I'm a fanboy. I'm not here to critique anybody, but I'm kind of here to celebrate nerd culture and to just give you a window into the cool and nerdy things that I like. So tell me in the comments if you like this, what I did right being my first time doing this. What do you think I could do better? Other things you might like to see me cover and talk about? And hopefully I'll see you soon.